Okay, let's take a look at CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and what this is a language that allows us to go above and beyond HTML to add additional styles to our web pages. So we can create our basic web pages using HTML, but if we want to really affect the styles, we want to go with CSS. Front-end web development is composed of really three major languages. That is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So CSS is really important to our development of basic web pages. The way CSS works is it is in addition to our basic HTML code. So I've got an example here of a CSS page that we can control the background colors of different elements of our web page. So we've got three different ways of applying CSS. We can apply it as an internal, as an inline, or as an external style sheet. We'll come back to external style sheets later on, but that's a way that we can take our style, we can copy it over into another file, save it with the .css extension, and then apply those styles to all the pages on our website, which makes things a lot more efficient. In this case, notice right here within my HTML code on the left, I've got two tags that may be a little bit different than what you've seen before. I've got a style tag, and then below that I've got a corresponding closing style tag. That is what tells the browser that we are looking at code that is different from our HTML code. We're now looking at CSS code. We're telling the browser, okay, here's some CSS. We're exiting out of the HTML. We're using a different language now, and the browser needs to act accordingly. So within CSS, the way this works is we use selectors to indicate the various sections of our web pages. So if you recall back to the previous assignment, when you were building, we referred to a skeleton of our HTML. Basically, we have some minimal things that we need for any HTML web page. We need our doc type up here, which tells the browser it's HTML5. We've got our opening HTML, our closing HTML, body tag. We may have divs in there, paragraphs, and this heading level 1 as well. So when we construct those pages, we can use CSS to affect the style of those different sections of our web page. So notice here at the top, I've got my CSS styles within my two CSS tags, and then below that, as I add my text there, it's going to apply that style. It's going to reference that H1 right here with this H1 right here within our HTML. So if I modify this text and I just change it to say hello, and then go ahead and run that, you'll notice the text changes, but the style remains the same of that particular heading. So as you look at this, you'll see that I've applied a heading level 1, I've applied styles to a div, and I've applied styles to a paragraph. So here, what confuses students a lot is if you're not affecting a particular style, if you're not addressing it, you don't have to include it in the code. You don't have to put a bunch of all the things that you can do to affect the style of this heading level 1 and then list them and make them null or something like that. It just simply defaults back to the HTML, however that's set up on your page, if you don't address it. So in this case, in my heading level 1, I only want to change the background color. So that's the only style I need to include. If I wanted to change the font style or the size or the color of the text or whatever, then I would add additional lines. I would simply tab down, type in my new line, and add my new style, and then it would affect that style. Also notice I have my opening and closing braces here, and that's where my styles are going to go as I list them to affect this particular element. So each one of these has a corresponding opening and closing brace. So I can modify this, say I want to change that background color from green to red. I can just simply change the style right there, run it, and now I can affect that element of the page. Same thing with my div. If I want to change that light blue and I just want to make it a blue, different shade of blue there, standard blue, I can do that as well. I haven't had to modify my HTML code. So that's the way CSS works as we work within our pages of CSS. Now later on we'll get to external style sheets, and what that basically means is I can take this style, copy it out, save it as a .css file, put it in my web root folder, and now I can apply that and use that for every heading level 1 on every web page of my site. So if I want to change the font size of every font on my website, I don't have to go to each and every page and update that. All I have to do is go to my CSS style sheet and change it there, affecting that particular element, and it'll update for every page on my website. So hopefully this will get you up and running with CSS. The project will step you through how to do this, and the chapter will get a little bit more detailed on CSS as well.